Hello everybody and welcome to a bit of a rushed introduction for the Pure GT social races here at Zolder. They started qualifying about 8 minutes early, which means we have jumped into it straight away, no messing about. The grid is up on your screen at the moment. Paul Donkin has qualified on pole position, Anthony Mott in second place, Barry Rabbit in third, Richard Abra fourth, fifth being Havana Gevorgian, sixth John Westbrook, seventh Andy Montgomery, Max Hunt in eighth, Martin Thomas ninth. Rounding out the top 10 is Mark Hoskin, Wafer and Martin 11th and 12th. And if we go scroll a little bit further down, we've got a few more entries than we did last week, which is fantastic. Christian Wafer in 13th, Peter Jennings in 14th, Carl Galloway in 15th, Alan Toon is on 16th, but that isn't Alan Toon. I can reliably inform you that is Chris Knox. Kevin McGlone in 17th position. But for the sake of, for the sake of anybody wondering, if we do shout Alan Toon's name, that is Chris Knox. Trust me. Alongside me in the virtual commentary box, as per usual, is Edward May. And Ed, how the devil are you?
I'm doing brilliant. Thank you very much, Jack. Good to be here for the Pure GT yet again. Sad I missed out on Snetterton last week, but I had my vaccine that day and that knocked me flat on my ass, so I wasn't able to get involved at the action at my home circuit, but that's another great track, this one at Zolder. A track that I always love coming to, both in the Cosbox and in the race car, and the race cars are about to get underway here, Jack.
They are indeed. So as the red lights come on, the engine notes rise, and that's a very quick getaway by Paul Donkin. Not the same can be said for Anthony Mott, but I tell you what, Ed, that was an absolutely rapid red light, wasn't it? So as we go through the first corner, it looks like Havana Gevorgian is into second place ahead of Anthony Mott, Barry Rabbit. There's Martin Thomas falling down the order, Richard Abra's falling down the order as well, Andy Montgomery down 10 positions, Chris Knox is already up to the top 10, he's already up to the top 9. What is going on in this midfield battle here? It's all kicking off, and as I said, Alan Toon, which is Chris Knox for the evening, trying to go around the outside of turn number 3. He's always ambitious, and we'll look a little bit further forward because Barry Rabbit and Havana Gevorgian are going at it.
Oh, there's a spinner up in front, and who was that? Was that Paul Donkin? Well, Paul Donkin, right from the front of the field, has had a spin coming out of the first chicane, messed up massively, and drops down into 10th position. Wow. What a calamitous start for Paul Donkin.
Yeah, and it gets worse for the drivers.
He's further in front.
Yeah, it got worse for the drivers ahead of him, though. Paul Donkin gaining a few positions back because they almost went 3 wide into the one of the tightest chicanes in motorsport, to be honest. Mark Hoskin, I think Martin Thomas and Chris Knox were all part of that, and unfortunately it didn't go too well for some of them. They are back in the Dallara F3s, which is one of the cars that they are most used to, supposedly, Ed, isn't it? Because they're, supposedly, well, they've probably been the most popular car of choice since you started commentating on this. Anyway, it used to be the GT3s probably the most popular car on choice, but the F3s, you'd think that they know them well, but they clearly don't because Westbrook has got into the wall.
Oh, and was that coming out of that sort of, not really a chicane, is it? It's a fast sort of sweeping section, dips the wheel out onto the grass, loses control, clatters into the wall on the right and left, both sides getting a decent visit from the spinning Formula 3. Thankfully, of course, no damage in these Pure GT rounds. Paul Donkin's going to be glad of that because he took a fair whack over the curb before he span it around. This time, though, will he make that same mistake? No, but a driver in front does, and that was, I believe, Paul Wafer. No, that was Christian Wafer, my mistake.
Yeah, Christian Wafer looking sideways on the track there, and there's so much action going on in the Pure GT that it is very difficult to know where to look, but we will give you a bit of a rundown as soon as we're sure that they've made it all out of the this section of corners, and that's exactly why I didn't try and start giving you a rundown straight away, because Richard Abra is turning the wrong way, and as they go over the crest towards the left hand side, that's flat out in these F3 cars. Paul Donkin and Max Hunt still going at each other. Donkin goes through on Hunt, but even then he gets a little bit of a snap on the exit of the corner. So let's try and give you a rundown. In fact, no. Tell you what, Ed, I don't think we're ever going to be able to get a rundown has gone through because everybody is just side by side everywhere they go. There we go. They just calmed down a touch.
Had a moment. He's dropped back again behind Christian Wafer and John Westbrook. So he's back on circuit now, thankfully. Meanwhile, this fight up in front that we're seeing between Paul Donkin, Max Hunt behind, and, well, I'm so confused because I keep thinking that it's Alan Toon behind the car.
Yes, it's not, is it? It's Chris Knox, and Chris was texting me today saying that basically he's struggling to get, well, he was hoping to get back racing tonight because he wasn't here last week at Snetterton, but then he got sent south for work, which meant that he was away from his sim yet again. But luckily, his BSR, I was going to say teammate, but he's not teammates, are they? But BSR friend Alan Toon said that he can bung his sim a go if he wants to race on tonight, which is very kind of him.
I still think Alan Toon might be tempted to have a little bit of a drive later on. Who knows? We might see Alan behind the wheel. Good friend of us, isn't he, Jack Allen, from our time in the BSR NX5 Mazdas. A lot of drivers, we've seen obviously the likes of Chris Knox as well as taken part in that series. I've seen too many of these other drivers, however, racing behind the wheel of an MX5. They prefer the Formula 3s and, well, whatever else takes their fancy, don't they, these pure GT drivers. Keep us on our toes, Jack.
They do indeed, yeah. It's almost impossible to keep up with them. But again, Alan Toon now mixing it with Max Hunt. Max has been everywhere pretty much tonight. It's been quite entertaining watching how he's been getting on. But going to the outside is Chris Knox. Looking for that cutback manoeuvre potentially. But actually, Max did a really good job of fending that off. Now, we'll keep an eye on this battle, but we'll give you a rundown as it stands. Anthony Martin. Oh, there we go. Again, I just can't get my words out before someone chucks it off the circuit.
Yeah, so they're all having a little bit of a moment here, there and everywhere. Going to see a replay this time of Max Hunt just running a little bit wide coming through turn 2. Losing out on a position and then another, I think, as we see Martin Thomas coming on through. You taking that opportunity with both hands. Climbing up the order. We're going to follow Martin Thomas now, though, into this second chicane. Very difficult to get right as we see drivers up in front. Well, just going straight ahead. Chris Knox getting it all wrong, as did as well Paul Wafer. So Paul Wafer's going to have a slowdown and coming through this flat out left-hander over the crest, down the hill. The inside line will open up for Martin Thomas. Late on the brakes, he's going to take the position. Oh, but then, well, Wafer gets speared off, doesn't he, by Chris Knox?
He does indeed, yeah. It's Chris Knox back straight into the thick of it with Pure GT. There's no messing about here with these guys, is there? It seems to be one of those where if you are close enough to make contact, the F3 cars aren't exactly good at absorbing contact, so they end up with a crash, don't they, which is a bit of a shame. I've just got to run downstairs very quickly, Ed, so I'm going to leave you on board with Chris Knox to see how he does develop. He's gained 10 positions so far, so you're pretty much guaranteed of something exciting. I'll be back in 2 minutes.
Well, thank you very much, Jack. Let us follow Chris Knox here, coming down through the first sector of the corner. Little bit of a lift. Guide the car through nice and careful not to touch the gravel on the exit, which he gets through nice and safely. Then you come to this sort of long straight, the longest flat out section of the circuit before coming into the chicane. Careful of the curbs. They will bite back and send you around, as we've seen happen to several drivers this evening. Paul Donkin will tell you just how vicious they can be. Alan Toon, well, not Alan Toon, I'm going to keep making that mistake. Chris Knox. Double right-hander to go, up the hill, over the crest, down the hill again into the braking zone for the hairpin. He's not really making too many inroads here as Chris Knox on Martin Thomas, but it's more slowly but surely coming his way. Further back, we can see a change of camera, which means that Jacko is back just in time to see Christian Wafer slide it down the inside of, that was Peter Jennings. I think Richard Abra as well sort of made his own way through.
Yeah, an interesting take on physics there by iRacing. They do have a mind of their own sometimes, these F3s. Yeah, sorry about that. It just occurred to me that I think I left all my pizza and my garlic dip and everything out, because I was in a bit of a rush to get up here to start the stream, and I thought my dog probably won't enjoy, well, he will enjoy eating it, but he won't enjoy it coming out the other end, put it that way. Richard Abra is just turned around, Christian Wafer as well, as we come back to have a look at this fight further down. To be honest, the top 10 are all fairly spaced out, apart from Mark Hoskin. But this lower down battle is just absolute carnage at the moment.
Yeah, it really is. Just pandemonium on the Zolder circuit. As all Mark Hoskins spins it around into the tyre barriers coming through the chicane. Just a little bit of over rotation. Could be a touch of the left rear on the curb that can send the car around. And oh my word, Richard Abra, how in your mouth stuff there as he tries to get around a out of control 666 of Mark Hoskin. Not going to be making another mistake though into this next chicane. Nope, gets through that nicely, just about. Paul Wafer though, after the race he's had at this early phase, is going to be looking to climb back up through the field.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what Markowski was doing there. I mean, I think he was trying to shake off or get his dirty tyres back to being clean and just giving it a little bit of a weave, but chose the wrong place in the circuit to do it, that's for sure. Let's have a go and have a very quick look at the race start. We're on lap 7 out of 10 already, which is quite incredible. These pure GT races do absolutely fly by. It's quite sensational, but we'll have a look at the race start. Now, I want to have a look at Anthony Mott, because he just bogs down here, doesn't he, Ed? He just doesn't get going at all. He gets overtaken by pretty much everyone. Havana's Gevorgian gets an absolutely awesome start. So does Paul Donkin. He ends up obviously spinning around like we saw, but that's Havana's going into second place, touching with, I'm not entirely sure, I think that was Kevin McGlone at one point. But Havana's Gevorgian, Anthony Mott. Now, Anthony is obviously now into the lead of the race, but it's quite incredible that he can have that bad a start and still be in the lead of the race by the end of lap 1. Oh, as we go back live, Alan Toon is turned himself around. Now, that's not Alan Toon, obviously it's Chris Knox. I'm going to keep making that mistake because I'm so used to actually commentating on Alan Toon, as you said before, Ed, which is quite annoying.
Yeah, but Chris Knox is maybe just trying to come to grips with a new rig as well. It's always a little bit different, as we see. Oh my word, both Max Hunt, I think that was actually Andy Montgomery and John Westbrook locking up the rear brakes. John Westbrook, though, seemed to be much more of a severe stamp on the on the brake pedal. We're going to see another replay of it. The two cars here, they'll have similar moments under braking. Look at the car in front, gets a little bit out of shape, as does John Westbrook, though, in a much more, well, extreme fashion. The 66 car, not looking too good.
No, it's not at the moment. Big thank you to Matt Emmons, who has given a like on the stream as well, and he's also said that he loves Zolder but can't drive an F3 car. Well, you're not the only one. Matt, to be honest, I love Zolder as well. I can't drive the F3 cars either, as Chris Knox goes a little bit wide there. He's trying everything to get past Andy Montgomery. He's looking to the inside. No, he's backing out of that one, probably wisely, but he locks up and ruins the run through the corner, which is probably not really ideal for him. But yeah, Zolder actually is one of the first tracks I actually ever drove in iRacing that wasn't in an MX-5 car, which is a bit of an odd sort of strange fact to be bringing up. But it's actually one of the I tried to do iRacing. I tried to get into the BMW GT4 quite heavily, and I was like, well, I'm going to dedicate my time to it. In the end, I spent about 2 months doing it. I found I was rubbish, so I started commentating instead. Oh my days! As I think, who was that? Is that Andy Montgomery?
That was
wasn't
Andy
it?
Montgomery.
And
again, that corner, really seemingly struggling with the rear locking. Might need to shift the brake bias a little bit further forward, because again, you see the rear of the car wanting to try and overtake the front. Very, very strange from Andy Montgomery there, almost taking out Chris Knox into, well, the slowest corner on this Zolder circuit. Following, though, the car's into probably one of the faster corners on the circuit at the end of the lap. The quick little left-right jink, ignoring the chicane section and just carving its way through to the start-finish line into the first corner. Good closing speed, though, from John Westbrook on Paul Wafer and into the second corner. A little bit of a look down the inside. It's a late lunge and, a day late and $1 short, unfortunately, as both cars spear off the circuit.
yeah, that's a little bit of a could you see it coming? Would it be fair to say you could probably see that one coming? Ed, I think as I can't remember who it was, just went a little bit wide to get that get that late entry. You could just see that there was going to be a car on the inside.
On the final lap.
Oh, he is indeed, actually. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Anthony Mott on the final lap, so we'll cut to have a look at him. Paul Donkin and Barry Rabbit are just starting their final lap as well. And look how close this is. It's incredible. Big thank you to Katie Eames, who was giving it a like and a share on the stream, and also says she's just having a quick break from Next Gen to Addicted to Pure GT. And I was guessing that because Matt Emmons is part of the Next Gen crew as well. And I'm wondering why both of you are in the comments and not actually taking attention to the series that you run, Matt. But there you go. Good luck to you. Just keeping an eye on this one for now, because it's a 10-second gap between himself and Anthony Mott.
Yeah, so as they make their way down the start-finish straight into the hairpin for the final time of this first heat race of the evening, Paul Donkin, he's going to get a run this time on Barry Rabbit. Over the crest they go, too wide. Paul Donkin will get the inside for the right-hander. That puts him on the outside for the second part, but it doesn't need to worry about that because he dives it through, takes the corner nicely, but flat out all the way through this sector of the lap. Up through the left-hander, the closing speed will be there for Barry Rabbit into a braking zone of that tight hairpin. I think they sort it out amongst each other as Anthony Mott sorts himself out with a brilliant race victory. First one of the evening for Anthony Mott, and with a performance like that, you could expect plenty more to come his way. Paul Donkin, brilliant drive back up through the field, of course, was leading at the start, had a moment into the first chicane on the first lap, dropped him down into 10th position, but spirited drive saw him finish P2 ahead of Barabet in P3. Whereas for Gevorgian, good drive from him. Didn't see too much of him, have we, Jack? But he came home for a very good 4th place. Martin Thomas completes the top 5. We're waiting for a few more drivers just to come across the line now, but we do have Mark Hoskin here in 11th place. And a close fight here for 9th. Oh, and Calamity's at the line. Oh, has Chris Knox just been able to take that? Oh, I think maybe if he's going to reverse across the line in time, is he going to take it? Oh, just crawling across the line ahead of Peter Jennings.
Oh, no, there we go. That's exactly what I was expecting. And then John Westbrook joins the party as well. And they all look like they're aiming for each other now, don't they? That was the 11 and 10 car. I'm not sure who that was. Paul Wafer, Christian Wafer
coming in.
Yeah, there we go. Off they go. Yeah, off with their heads over there somewhere and into the paddock. That's one quick way to get to the bar at Zolder, isn't it? Just launch yourself over the grandstands, shall we say. But that is the end of race number 1. We do have just Carl Galloway finishing off the grid, shall we say. And if you're unused to the Pure GT format, well, we go straight into race number 2. There's no messing about here, which is why we've cut straight to looking at the grid already. So let's bring you up the grid. Now, this is a reverse grid. Not entirely sure how reverse, though. What we can do, it's a top 10 reverse grid. We can note to that because Anthony Mott obviously finished on top of the order. He's in 10th place. So Ed, take us through.
Yep, so Peter Jennings, pole position from him. The scrap between Chris Knox and himself was obviously for the reverse grid pole position. And, well, Chris Knox is starting 2nd place on the front row ahead of Andy Montgomery, Richard Abra, Max Hunt, Martin Thomas, Havanas Gevorkian, Barry Abbott, Paul Donkin, Anthony Mott, Mark Hoskin, and John Westbrook there in 12th. Ahead of 2 wafers, Christian and Paul, who left a few crumbs of F3 in the gravel at the end of the race, with Alexander Martin 15th, Kevin McGlone 16th, and Carl Galloway 17th. But this second race of the evening is about to get underway here, Jack.
It is indeed, yeah. In fact, already the lights are coming on your screen now, and this is the second race of 3, remember, all 10 laps. I think the last one might be 11. But as the lights come on, the engine note's rising yet again. It's an absolutely rapid getaway for the lights. Anyway, maybe catching out a few drivers, but it's a good start by Peter Jennings with Andy Montgomery. Those gone round the outside. Well, if he holds that, which he absolutely hasn't, neither has a few drivers in the background, John Westbrook being one of them, and Alan Toon, Chris Knox. And a spin round there for Andy Montgomery. Martin Thomas flies himself into 3rd place, but he's got Richard Abra up his inside. Abra in that Gulf Porsche racing livery, looking rather smart, it has to be said. And the camera's just looking a bit tight here, so we can't actually see much of the action, but it looks like they're trying to go 3 wide.
Oh my word, they're always going to try and set it 3 wide, aren't we, as well. Peter Jennings down into the chicane. 2nd place. Max Hunt, though, at the front of the field. What a good start it was by him, up 4 places already. Making their way into the 2nd chicane. Oh, this is a real hot zone for incidents and accidents, but I think mostly the front runners get through that without too many dramas. Speaking of dramas, there's a fight at the front. Richard Abra side by side with Max Hunt into the hairpin, and I think we see Richard Abra sliding it around the outside, taking position and sliding off the circuit yet again on the first lap. It's not going Paul Donkin's way, is it?
Absolutely is not. It's not going Peter Jennings' way either, as he flies off just a few half car length back, I'd say. Back to my racing now, says Matt Evans. Good luck for next gen and the GT3 guys. It's a shame I'm not broadcasting that, but I'm sure Paul is doing a brilliant job by the looks of his test streams. I can't wait to give it a watch later on. Paul Donkin then, he did have a little bit of a spin, and he's come back on in 7th place. He's actually now fighting with race 1 winner Anthony Mott. So expect these 2 drivers to come back a little bit sooner rather than later, because Paul obviously is a quick driver. I think he won 2 out of the 3 at Snetterton. No, he got 2nd twice at Snetterton. And no, completely scrapped. I think he got 2nd 3 times at Snetterton, did Paul Donkin. He couldn't quite get the top step, but he had to have a recovery drive every single race. So he can do it, and let's see what he can do. I think Anthony Mott, obviously race winner here today. I think he got a race win at Snetterton as well. Let's see if he can repeat such a feat from 7th place on the grid.
Yeah, from a little bit further back, he'll be having a job to do, of course, but you never know what can happen in pure GT. It always likes to throw up some surprises, as, well, Richard Abbott was into lead, and, well, is probably surprised Barry Rabbit with how late he would be on the brakes, just sending it into the back, misjudging his braking zone, locking it up. And, well, that's both of them, unfortunately, out of the running for the top spots this race. There's the chances later on in the evening with the final race, of course. Look at this. This could be a close, entertaining fight, though, for P3, as Anthony Mott is looking which way, left, right, any way he can. Down the inside, as all up in front. Is that a moment there for our race leader? It was Max Hunt into the first corner. Got it all wrong, Jack.
It was, actually, and the reason why I'm focusing on Carl Galloway is because, obviously, Carl came stone dead last in the first race. He started stone dead last in this race, and yet, because he's one of the only drivers that hasn't had a crash yet, he's disappeared. As I was saying, that Carl Galloway is disconnected. Oh, well, isn't that just commentator's curse? I was just focusing on to say how you can keep it clean and still come out with a potential podium position under your belt. Well, Carl Galloway got disconnected, so that's really a shame, but just our luck for pure GT. It's amazing, isn't it? Sometimes as a broadcaster, Ed, you want to keep away from the spins and the spills, shall we say, and try and promote the close, good, clean racing. Pure GT, sometimes that's not always an easier case, is it?
Not really, but we kind of love it for that, don't we? We love it for just the madness, the chaos, but, well, the entertainment as well that it provides, of course. You never know what you're going to get with pure GT, but oftentimes it's still something that you're glad to have been a part of. Nonetheless, Paul Donkin, then after, well, what was the kilometres? First lap coming into the final half, where he made a mistake coming out of the hairpin, too much throttle, looping it around. But, well, he's up into second place already and hunting down Anthony Mott for the race victory. Anthony Mott, though, well, he came back from race victory in the first race, started 10th, now up into first. Paul Donkin could have a job on his hands to try and take that one back. So keep your eyes open for the front of the field as we keep our eyes to the midfield. And, well, what on earth is going on here? Dalara's everywhere. Ooh, I don't know how this is going to end. Well, we all know how this is going to end, Jack, but how many laps do you think it'll take?
Well, since we've only been focusing on this for about... sorry, I've just been focusing a little bit on the comment, just to let you know that the car sound isn't too loud. You can just about hear it, apparently. So I thought the car sound was actually a little bit too loud to start with, but maybe I'll turn that up in just a second, Katie. Thank you for letting us know. We've only been focusing on them. Oh, Chris Knox has had a spin. Well, Alan Toon has... I mean, it's safe to say to Alan Toon, I don't want to rib him too much, but we're semi-used to seeing Alan facing the wrong way in BSR. We're seeing his name now facing the wrong way twice. Chris Knox is... I'd say, actually, Chris Knox is doing Alan Toon's account a disservice here. He's ruining the good name of Alan Toon at this right here, Ed.
Yeah, this is... I reckon Alan Toon in the rig would be doing a... well, maybe a better job of keeping it on the straight and narrow, that's for certain. Although these Dalaras are very tricky to control. That's the main thing to consider. Cars are difficult, as well as on a different rig for Chris Knox on Alan Toon's... well, very nice setup that I believe the BSR boys pulled a bit of money together to get it for him. That was in the, I think, first lockdown of 2020 when it all kicked off, of course, for sim racing, and that was a little bit of a shining light in a year that was very, very grey. So good to see that Alan Toon is not only getting good use out of his rig, but also keeping his friendships that he made very close, with the fact that Chris Knox is around his house, giving his sim rig a bit of a whirl.
Yeah, absolutely. It is something that just warms your heart to a large extent, doesn't it? And obviously, you've been in contact with Alan for quite a while in the BSR community, and obviously I commentated on it for about a year with you as well. And Alan was always one of those guys, you didn't speak to him very often because, let's face it, he didn't get into the podium. but very often. But whenever he did come on for a chat and an interview, he was always one of those drivers that epitomised sort of club racing in general and sim racing in general to me. He's a lovely guy, just in it for a laugh, and he also organised a lot of the sessions as well, which is fantastic as well. So can't speak highly enough of Alan too, even though Chris Knox is not necessarily giving his equipment the driving it deserves right now. Alex Martin, though, in the Alpine is certainly performing like an Alpine at the moment, isn't it? It's unfortunately pretty good in qualifying, ends up going backwards in race day, which is a bit of a shame for Alex Martin. Still inside the top 10 at the moment, but Mark Hoskin, Kevin McGlone, Christian Wafer, all semi-quick drivers. It's just whether or not they can keep it clean on the track.
Yeah, that's the main aspect, isn't it? It's seen so many drivers getting it wrong into the chicanes, the areas where we've seen most drivers, of course, just losing out a little bit. If everyone can sort of nail this down, as we see Martin Thomas nail it over the curbs, I think that's actually a little bit of a faster route through. Obviously, it's a little bit more unsafe with the car bouncing down suspension, really having to work its magic to keep the car sort of balanced around on the throttle, but it seems to be working for Martin Thomas as Richard Abra through the second chicane gets a much better run and closes in. I doubt that he's going to go for a move on the inside into the hairpin, thinks about it, but vanishes as well, which is worrying, then reappears. Ooh, that's going to be scary for Martin Thomas, seeing that in his rearview mirrors going into the braking zone.
Yeah, absolutely. I think by the looks of it, Anthony Mott has now been caught by Paul Donkin as well. So just to give a highlight on these guys at the front, because once they got to the front, we haven't actually seen them that often. We've got about 3 laps to go of this second race of the evening, and then of course we do have about a 5-10 minute break, depending on how they've set the server up, until we go into race 3 of the evening as well. And one of these sort of quirks, shall we say, of pure GT racing is we're never quite sure on the timings, so we'll have to keep you updated for that one. Mark Hoskin and Andy Montgomery here everywhere you look, though, in pure GT, which is why one of the reasons why we've loved actually broadcasting it, Ed, is the fact that you can look for the race lead, or you can look for a battle for 7th place, or you can look for the battle for 10th, or even when they had 25, 27 drivers, you could look all the way down for the battle for the top 25, and there would still be a close race with people hopefully having a smile on their face, which is basically what you want out of sim racing at the end of the day, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. You just want to have this sense of community, everyone having a good time, which is where all these sorts of communities started. It was obviously a group of people that raced together in leagues, in the various organised events, and also racing in a sort of a club level in real life UK motorsport, all coming together and deciding, you know what, we enjoy racing each other so much in these events, why not just have a little bit of a session where we can all just let our hair down a bit and have a good time? And well, we're very glad, aren't we, Jack, to be a part of that for these last few pure GT rounds that we've been covering for. How long has it been now? A few months, if I remember rightly?
Well, I've been covering it since February, yeah. I think I brought you in since, I think, May. I want to say maybe even before that, maybe April. Yeah, I think I had about 2 months doing it solo, and then I think we brought you in to see how 2 commentators were going to get on. I think we've done a good job, it has to be said. Hopefully the guys at Pure GT will agree, as Jordan Westbrook goes, well, actually, he went past Barry Rabbit, and then came off the throttle into the chicane and led him back through, so not entirely sure what the deal was with that. Unfortunately, we have had a few retirements. Christian Wafer, Peter Jennings and Alan Toon. Carl Galloway is back out but was in the pits. Not entirely sure why. I've just missed John Westbrook going off. Ed, what on earth happened to him there?
Just a mistake through the chicane. He took a little bit too much speed into it, and then it just all kind of went a bit wrong from there. You can see just over the curbs, bouncing around, too much speed in, understeer on entry. And he was always going to be going across the anti-cuts and the jumps, sent him over the grass and gave him a very hefty slowdown. Oh, look at this. Oh, Martin Thomas, is he going to be able to get control of the car and keep it out the wall? No.
Did you really ever expect that was going to end any differently than heading into those barriers? The amount of speed that Martin Thomas, in fact, just to give you an idea, what that looks like to crash in an F3 at Zolder, look at this.
So here you can see the washing of the front end when he comes into the first left-hander, and he just can't collect it back after that point. So, well, it was a very difficult situation for Martin Thomas. He didn't want to lift out, but hindsight tells us that maybe he should have, as we come on to the final couple of laps, and Paul Donkin has closed the gap to under a second between himself and Anthony Mott. So on to this Well, second to last tour of the Zolder circuit. Is Paul Donkin going to be able to get a look in on the final lap here, Jack?
Well, that's what he's going to be hoping for, isn't he? I mean, he's done a good job in keeping with Anthony Mott, who obviously qualified in a pretty good position. He's gained 9 places, Anthony Mott, as well, it's worth noting. And the next highest is actually Paul Wafer. He's currently gained 8 places, he's in 6th place, and then it is Paul Donkin. So, Kevin McGlone's gained 7, so is John Westbrook, and yeah, it's quite a good fight through the order for a lot of these drivers, really. The reverse grid can cause a lot of havoc, but I think the majority of them have handled it with a modicum of grace, shall we say. Paul Donkin actually has the fastest lap of the race as well in his last lap by 3/10 of a second. So it's no wonder why he caught up to Paul Donkin. Going through the chicane now, it is a little bit quicker to take the second curve, I think. But these F3 cars, they're so unbalanced. Well, they are very balanced. They're almost too balanced, aren't they, Ed? Because as soon as you unbalance them, they absolutely spit you out.
Yeah, and that's really unfortunate, isn't it? Just to have a car that's a little bit spicy, but sometimes the spice becomes too much and you need to have a break. Have a nice glass of milk. Maybe the drivers will have that in their little break as we come to the end of this second race. Oh, who was that? Go well off of the circuit there in the background.
Carl Galloway.
Who that is, Jack? That's Carl Galloway. So he's not having the best of time at Zolder, but a driver that is Anthony Mott. 2 wins from 2 from him so far this evening. Can he make it? The grand slam of victories. Well, I think we'll find out after our 10-minute intermission once all these drivers take it across the line. Barry Rabbit here, you can see completing the podium in 3rd place, just behind Paul Donkin. Max Hunt coming home in 4th, ahead of John Westbrook. And then a little bit of a way back, we have Paul Wafer and Mark Thomas, but a closer fight. I think we're seeing is this one, Jack. Mark Hoskin trying to, well, get through on Kevin McGlone.
Yeah, Kevin McGlone, he's one of the drivers that when we started covering this series, or this sort of social racing, shall I say, he was one of the drivers that was right at the front of the field. He hasn't quite had the form that he showed in previous months, but he is having a good time here by the looks of it with Mark Hoskin. As they come across the line, Kevin McGlone finishes in 9th place, Mark Hoskin in 10th. Alex Martin and Richard Abra, only the other 2 drivers to finish the field, as Carl Galloway has taken the checker flag as he was lapped. So, yeah, just waiting for Alex Martin and Richard Abbott to take the checker flag. Then we can bring you the full results for race 1 and race number 2 whilst we wait for race number 3, which, as I said, should be in about 10 minutes' time. I think, Ed, you may well be able to tell me what the exact gap is. I can't bring it up on I can't see without bringing it up on stream. But as I look to the grid, look to the results, sorry, you can quickly have a look at that. So
yeah, I can't find the gap either, to be honest.
Oh, right, okay, fair enough. Then, well, we'll have a look in a second for you and let you know. Anthony Mott took the race victory in race number 1. Paul Donkin, 11 seconds back, actually took 2nd place as well. We actually missed that one. Barry Rabbit in 3rd place. Savannah Gevorgian in 4th. Martin Thomas in 5th. Max Hunt in 6th. Richard Abra 7th. Andy Montgomery in 8th. Alan Toon in 9th, which is, of course, Chris Knox. Peter Jennings was in 10th, rounding out the top 10. Mark Hoskin in 11th. John Westbrook 12th. Christian Wafer in 13th. Paul Wafer in 14th. Alex Martin, Kevin McGlone, and Carl Galloway round out the field. And then we can have a very quick look at race number 2. There we go. Anthony Mott took the race victory yet again, and shock horror, Paul Donkin took 2nd place, as I think he did about 3 times at Snetterton. He's going for 6 in a row in the next one. Barry Rabbit took 3rd place as well. So the top 3 are identical, which is amazing. I've not clicked the wrong button. I have to double check. Max Hunt was in 4th place. John Westbrook rounds out the top 5 with Paul Wafer, Martin Thomas, Andy Montgomery, Kevin McGlone, and Mark Hoskin all in the top 10. Havana Gevorgian, Alex Martin, Richard Abra, Christian Wafer. Richard Abra was the last of the finishers in 13th place. Christian Wafer was 3 laps down, so it was Carl Galloway. Peter Jennings was 5 laps down, and Chris Knox was 5 laps down as well. Well, I think, Ed, what we're going to do is probably go and get a drink, because we desperately need it. I'm sure the drivers are probably off having a quick drink, and we'll be back in a couple of minutes. Do you think that sounds like a good idea?
That sounds like a great plan. So keep it tuned to Jacko Racing. We have a 5-minute warm-up, so that gives us time to get everything nice and ready. We'll see you all in what will be, I think, 2 to 3 minutes time.
Absolutely. Bloody hell. Hello and welcome back. They're already racing, blah 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 blah, and sorry about that. We're back though. We have only missed one corner in total, so we'll keep an eye on what's cracking. Mark Hoskin in the lead of the race, Martin Thomas in second place, Barry Rabbit in third. They've both gained a couple of positions. Barry Rabbit's actually gained 5 positions off the grid start. We've only had one casualty, that was Christian Wayfair, but there goes another. Oh. Yeah, he was trying his best to carry as much. Oh no! Well, he got the full lap in. He got the full lap in. I think it's safe to say. I won't give you the commentator's curse for that one, Ed. But he did, unfortunately, end a little bit worse for him after he got through the first corner for the second time. We saw as well Anthony Mott in the background has had a spin. He's back as well. So all of a sudden, Anthony Mott and Paul Donkin very close to each other yet again and having a similar story that they did in race 2, will be a recovery drive. Martin Thomas leading the way, but it's Barry Rabbit to go around the outside over the crest of the hill into the chicane. He's going to be on the inside for the chicane, and it's done and dusted. Hits the sleeping policeman, sausage curbs though, and manages to just about keep it on the track on the exit. Good move. Yeah, well, as I said, he's going for 6 second places in a row, isn't he, really? I think, as I said, he got it 3 at Snetterton. He at least got 2, I remember that. And he's got 2 already tonight here at Zolder. It's just not quite happening for him for whatever reason. But to be fair, at Snetterton, he was absolutely rapid as well. I think he was a good at least 3 to half a second, 3 tenths to 5 tenths quicker than everybody else on circuit. So Zolder maybe not quite clicking as much as it did at Snetterton, but still doing a good job of the evening, that's for sure. But of course, no championship points to be won or anything like that at this in these pure GT social races, which is a bit of a shame as well, because it would have been interesting to see how they would have fared or improved since we started broadcasting this. Now, we've mentioned the fact that we are broadcasting this a couple of times this evening, and obviously the longevity and everything like that we've been doing. Unfortunately, today will be our last broadcast for the Pure GT social races. We're not going to be doing it on Wednesday anymore. It's due to the fact that basically I've had other offers, other sort of job offers offered to me. Had to turn them down a few times and everything like that. And as Pure GT is starting to slowly eke away as people are getting back to their sort of real life racing, it's come to the sort of a mutual agreement where Pure GT will be looking for another broadcaster, which I hope will mean that they carry on as best as possible, because it has been an absolute blast and it's been a fantastic journey to be on with you as well, Ed, my trusty co-commentator in crime, as it has been for the past 18 months, really. Well, it should have been. It should have been long gone. Been a teaser. It should have been happening for the past 2 months. But unfortunately, my garage being delayed, it's not been the case. But yes, you're absolutely right. I'm very much looking forward to trying and getting some other things in the work, which will be very exciting as well. And maybe we'll replace this. But hopefully there'll be plenty more of these drivers on our screens at the moment as well. We'll be coming in to maybe join some other series that we can broadcast one day. You never know. But focus back on, obviously, the race this evening. We have got, I was going to say 6 laps to go with this race. Actually, they've whacked on 2 extra, haven't they? We've got 7 to go as Barry Rabbit has crossed the line to start the 4th lap of the race. I will just have a quick look at a replay. I was just keeping an eye on what Paul Wafer was doing with Anthony Mott, to be honest. Well, looks of it, that's just about calmed down as they go over the crest. So I will very quickly have a look at what happened to Max Hunt. Now, it looks like he flicks the car in there quite nicely, makes the second apex. Oh, runs over those outside curves. Now, that can really upset the car and collides into the apex. Actually, he got quite lucky that he didn't get collected here because he's spinning around right on the apex of that corner. Absolutely. Yeah, I didn't even own it when the Pure GT said they wanted to do a race or two in it. I was like, right, okay, I'm going to have to buy the car then, because obviously that's what happens on iRacing. You have to pay a monthly subscription, and you only get like 3 cars with it. You have to pay extra to get any kind of half-decent racing out of it, which is one of the bad things about iRacing, in my personal opinion. But I bought it. I think I went out there in a test session to sort of do a little promo video, and the whole thing was a disaster. I couldn't get it going. I couldn't do a lap. I was on a base setup. I didn't change the setups whatsoever or anything like that, and it just meant that it was awful, really. I didn't even bother putting the video out there because it was that terrible, and I haven't touched it since. That was, as I said, back in February, or actually probably March when they decided to go into the F3s. And I haven't touched it since. So there could have been updates that maybe changed the way it handles, but I haven't tested it so far, which is a bit of a shame, because there have been quite a few updates to quite a few car models, haven't they? I mean, I don't know if the MX-5, you'd be the person to ask, I suppose, whether the MX-5 has changed at all. Has the BSR boys ever commented on that at all over the past couple of weeks? Yeah, and it was very similar, actually. Yeah, it's very similar to the mistake that we saw earlier from Max Hunt, isn't it? Just ends up going wide and over those weird looking. I'm not entirely sure. They almost look like pressure plates in Minecraft, don't they? The way they're sort of elevated from the ground. And if no one out there is playing Minecraft, then you won't know what that means. But I know you do, Ed. So that's why I referenced it. Havana Zoe, he's still. I don't know why, because there is no damage on. He's given up the ghost essentially here, hasn't he? Ran out of fuel? Very confusing. I have absolutely no idea. This is the point where Martin Thomas overtook. Oh, you've got to wonder why Havana is going that slowly. It's in the middle of the circuit and weaving. I think the one thing I want to just highlight on this, and I've shown it a couple of times, look at Havana's in the purple car. He's weaving all over the place, isn't he, over that crest. He's not making a pure left-right movement. He's in the middle of the circuit. Barry Rabbit will be absolutely fuming at that one, I'm sure, because he was leading the race solidly, wasn't he? He was doing a great job. No worries about that whatsoever. And all of a sudden, he's in the pit lane. I'll tell you what, all of a sudden, look who's in second place.
We've seen this evening.
I'm going to put out there as an apology for everyone, and for you as well, Ed, because I muted you during the break. You've been muted for the past 10 laps. Because I came back in such a rush.
They've not heard my beautiful, beautiful tones. They've not heard of my lovely insights as well. Oh, you criminal behaviour, Jack.
I have to say, considering this is the last Pure GT race, I wanted to make it a good one. It's been littered with disasters, hasn't it? We were late on compared to qualifying. That wasn't because we were late on. The qualifying started early, but it did mean that we were in a bit of a rush to get on, which means we didn't have the usual countdown or music or anything. The break in between, I overshot the amount of time that it would take me to go and get a drink and everything like that. That's meant that we came on in a rush, and it also meant that I forgot to unmute you there, Ed. So I would like to apologise to everyone. It's not been my best broadcast. Apologies to the people viewing and also Pure GT themselves as well. Hopefully you've been more satisfied with the product's previous races than you have been this time round. And sorry, Ed.
Maybe they've been quite happy though that I've been on mute, because I do like to waffle on a bit, don't I, Jack?
Yeah, maybe they just enjoyed the silence.
Out better.
Yeah, maybe they just enjoyed the silence. They enjoyed the engine noise instead, and then all of a sudden my voice just burst in from nowhere. Having a conversation with someone they just can't hear, which is quite good. Well, I actually did it for Next Gen on one of my earlier seasons. I did an entire interview during a 40-minute race. He was on for half an hour because he'd crashed out, the guy who organises it, Matt Evans. And I did a half-an-hour interview, and I had him muted the entire time on Discord. I could not believe it. It was absolutely embarrassing. But, yeah, hopefully you don't take too much of an insult, Ed. I wasn't trying to keep you off the broadcast.
No. Even if you wanted to, you wouldn't get rid of me that easily, Jack. We've been together in the comms box for, well, I think since both of us started back last year, and, well, you're going to probably be getting the more sight of me as we go on. as we obviously carry on Jacko Racing and Martin Thomas. He has a mistake there into the chicane, and all of a sudden, Paul Donkin. We said it, didn't we? Curse of the commentator has struck Paul Donkin all evening long. This is hopefully his first chance to get the race victory this evening after showing amazing pace, pole position in qualifying at the start of the night. First two races not going his way, but as he makes his way on to the final half of the final lap of the evening on the final broadcast of the Pure GT series on Jacko Racing, he's going to have to be nice and careful and hopefully round out this evening with a hard-earned, hard-fought race victory.
Yeah, exactly. Paul Donkin, one of the drivers that's probably improved the most, and well, it really epitomises the Pure GT. I think a lot of drivers, well, when we started broadcasting it, it was an absolute disaster, to be honest. A lot of drivers have improved. The driving standards, the driving quality have improved, even though you do see a lot of crashes still. The actual standard of the car control is still a lot better than it ever used to be. And Paul Donkin takes the checkered flag here for the final time on Jacko Racing for the Pure GT social races. A great win by himself, but Martin Thomas will be the first to kick himself after that, throwing away that potential race victory. Richard Abba is going to come across the line in third, followed by Anthony Mott, who tried to get the clean sweep, but it wasn't to go his way. 2 victories tonight, though. I'm sure he'll be very pleased with it. Paul Wafer is coming through the last couple of corners to take round out the top 5, with Max Hunt quite a way back, but is not going to be taken away from the fact that he is going to finish in the 6th place and weaving across the line. Looks pretty happy about it. We do have a handful of non-finishers in this race, unfortunately. Carl Galloway is not going to be one of them as he comes up towards the back end of the line. Now, unfortunately for Carl, we focused on him as he was in a top 3 position, I think race 2, and it slipped away from him then. At least he's been able to finish in the top 10 this time round. Andy Montgomery is the last driver we're waiting for to finish out this race after starting on the front row of the grid. Ended up obviously having a bit of a mare going through the 2nd corner, I believe it was. Well, he comes through for the last time this evening, and it's going to be a 9th place for Andy Montgomery. So we can bring up the race results now, and Ed, why don't you take it through for the final time?
Thank you very much, Jack. So the final rundown of the final race is as follows. Paul Donkin takes the race victory ahead of Martin Thomas, and Richard Abra completes your final podium for Pure GT. On Jacko Racing, Anthony Mott finishing in 4th place ahead of Paul Wafer, Max Hunt, Carl Galloway, Kevin McGlone, Andy Montgomery, and Alexander Martin, who rounds out your top 10. Barry Abbott, after leading the race, having an unfortunate moment with 12th place Hovannes Gevorgian, saw a pair of them retire from the race there. Mark Hoskin in 13th ahead of not Alan Toon, but Chris Knox in 14th. John Westbrook 15th, Peter Jennings and Christian Wafer all not taking part in that final race. But Jack, that was, well, a proper Pure GT race at the end there. Drama start to finish. And you know what, we do have a driver coming into the comms box for you to have a word with. Kevin McGlone, I believe, Jack.
Yeah, and I think if we drag in Kevin McGlone, it'll be, let's see if I can do that just about now. Kevin McGlone, you're in the comms box. An enjoyable race as ever, I'm sure. How was it from your perspective? Kevin, are you there?
He's lost for words.
Yeah, I turned up about 3 minutes before qualifying, and I hadn't been around Zolder before, so it was interesting to say the least.
That's quite impressive. By the end of the night, then you're coming in 8th place.
Yeah, you know, it's just, I suppose you get used to it going around it. Cars are horrible. I don't know whether they've changed the. There was an awful lot of comments during the race from a lot of people that the cars are horrible on cold tires. I don't know if they've changed the physics of the cars in the latest update. But it takes 3-4 laps now for the cars to get up to speed. But it is what it is. It's a good track. It takes a lot of practice, clearly, and some people have been practicing more than myself. Like I said, I've just got in from Wales. I just got in from Wales, so I had about 3 minutes notice to get onto it. So it's good though. I enjoyed it.
Well, it's, at least you enjoyed it, I suppose. And obviously, they've Been around. I can't remember. Were you involved in the IndyCar race that we had a couple of weeks ago at the Charlotte Roval?
Uh, uh, no, I wasn't. I ended up being somewhere else that night.
Ah, right. I was going to ask how the cars compare between the two of them, but I suppose,
I did do practice during the week at Charlotte Roval in the Indy cars, and I'm running a fairly aggressive setup on the steering wheel, and it nearly broke my wrists every time I went through the game.
Jeez, it is a harsh sort of circuit. I think that one is, and obviously the IndyCars are on a knife edge pretty much constantly, aren't they? Do you enjoy driving the F3s in iRacing? Obviously, we were talking actually, me and Ed, about the updates. You mentioned that there is quite a heavy amount of update in the recent iRacing Week 13. Has it changed drastically? Has it made it more enjoyable to drive? Less enjoyable?
I think it's less enjoyable for the shorter races like this. It's very noticeable, and like I say, it's they say a bad craftsman blames his tools, and I was clearly at the back of the race most of the races tonight. But there were others on the open channel saying how bad the car is from cold. I think they've been set up to do a proper full class F3 race rather than 5 or 6 laps around the track. And the negative of that is piling into the first corner and spitting out.
Yeah, we did see plenty of that. Do you expect that there'll probably be a change in class then when you next jump onto the grid for next week? Do you reckon there'll be a potential change back to GT3s?
No, I think that I think as much as there's a negative to the tire setup on it, I think the general reticence is to get back into a GT3 because it just seems a little bit piggish. I actually quite like it. I'm doing an iRacing. I'm doing the Haggerty IMSA series at the moment and really enjoying, the GT3, GTE class cars. I suppose it's just circuit dependent, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, before we let you go, Kev, to enjoy the rest of your evening, it's come that time again to ask you if there's anybody you would like to give a shout out. Now, I reckon I know the answer to this.
Yeah, I'd really like to say hello to a couple of people who are, I know are listening in tonight. So that's David O'Leary and Riccardo Patrese, 2 people that are very close to me, so they'll know who they are. And just for the record, that's neither of their names.
I was going to say, normally you just straight up say, absolutely not, no, goodbye. I was actually surprised you pulled out some names there. Quite impressive. Kev, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed the evening, and I hope you enjoy Pure GT going forward.
Yeah, cheers. Thanks very much for your time. It's been a pleasure.
And that was Kevin McGlone, who we've been having a look at on the screens at the moment. Obviously didn't catch him for the majority of the evening because he was obviously a little bit further back into his own admission. But still nice, always nice to have a chat to him. Ed, any closing thoughts before we finish off the stream?
No, nothing to really mention, but of course, well, thank you, Jack, for having me here on Jacko Racing, and thank you for Pure GT for all of the fun they provided us here on Jacko Racing. It's sad to see them go, but I'm sure that we'll see them at some other time, but in other series that you broadcast, Jack, or maybe in other capacities as well. The sim racing community is always close, and these little groups like Pure GT are what really keeps it going. So again, thank you, Jack, and thank you, Pure GT.
Absolutely, yeah, and to echo the sentiments of Ed there, I'd just like to give a big thank you to Pure GT, a big thanks to everybody who's tuned in and given it likes or comments or followed because of the series that we've been streaming, obviously, on a Wednesday night for the past 6 months. Unfortunately, we won't be carrying it on, but with any luck, Pure GT will carry on, maybe with a different broadcaster, and we'll be able to tune in and have a watch back of some of the epic racing that they've been enjoying for the last 6 months. It's definitely been a ride, shall we say that. My name's been Jack Oliphant. I've been joined for the majority of the past 6 months by Ed May.